All right. All right. Knicks. Can you give me my phone too? It's somewhere over. I don't know where it is. Shout out to my wife who's being my assistant right now. All right. The Knicks lose this game. Uh, frustrating game, obviously, for a number of reasons. Also, an encouraging game for a number of reasons. I just saw a comment there from Sima Singh. First quarter, you got that right. It's probably not a good idea when you're a team on the road trying to beat a decent basketball team to go down by 20 points in the first quarter and act like you don't give any shits. No shits. Zero shits. That was very frustrating. Much of the rest of the game was encouraging, and we will talk about the part of the game that was encouraging, about what that means moving forward for this team. You can't. You just. So for anybody who's most people on here probably are not our patrons and have not been watching with me on playback over the last hour and change. I have been spending a lot of time over the last hour singing the praises of Obi Toppin. And I think for the Knicks as an organization, the big takeaway from this game, and not that we needed it, and for all the people out there who were like, you idiots, they should be starting Obi Toppin. They should be playing Obi Toppin 30 minutes. They should be featuring Obi Toppin. Obi Toppin is the best part of this team. All of the things. Anybody who's saying any of that stuff, you can take your victory lap right now. Because what to me, and again, the point is, it shouldn't have been a revelation. Obi Toppin, what he did tonight, and just shows you what he is capable of doing if he is given time and he's featured, and what his energy brings and all of this stuff. He's an imperfect player. I get he's an imperfect player. In the half court, his effectiveness kind of subsides a little bit, which is why I believe Tibbs took him out at the end. I'm not going to kill Tibbs. I'm sure people are going to wait for me to do this so they could kill me for it. I'm not going to kill Tibbs for taking Obi out at the end. I think it's a questionable decision. But, Toronto was basically like, we're going to leave him in the corner. We're just going to make sure he doesn't run in and dunk on us. And if he hits a shot from the corner, he's going to hit a shot from the corner. And he hit one massive shot from the corner that tied the game, which was the most exciting moment of the game. And then he missed a couple after that. And Tibbs said, you know what? If I'm going to live or die with this game, I'm going to live and die with some guys that I think can make a shot from the corner. And I'm going to sacrifice what Obi gives us. And that is a questionable decision, to be clear. It's a questionable decision. It's not one that I'm going to sit here and kill Thibodeau about. If anybody wants to be mad at him about, that's fine. But to the larger point about what this team is and what their identity is and who they are and their ethos, when you watch how they play when Obi is not on the floor, and yes, Rose is a part of this, and yes, Quickly is a part of this, but we've now reached a 26-game sample size in which there is something that happens when Obi Toppin is on the floor that is different, that stands out, that separates itself from when he is not on the floor. And it is unmistakable. And that player that we're talking about, Obi Toppin, plays behind a guy who you just gave a 9-figure contract to, and who was the best player on your team last year, who is ostensibly the best player on your team this year, who was an MVP candidate last year, who was an All-NBA player last year, who fancies himself one of the best players in the league today, to this day. and I see I'm going a little out of order here on the super chat. I'll get to the super chats up top. Drew P says teams pack the paint since our fives can't shoot at all. So it's left Thibodeau with this, and by the way, the fives, the biggest issue with the fives has nothing to do with the offense. That's an issue. The bigger issue is on the other end. We saw Tibbs finally go to Julius and Obi together, and it worked, and it was great, and it's exciting. Is it a sustainable model moving forward? I'm not so sure. When Obi is out there, it changes the energy level, it changes the verb, it changes everything about how this team plays. And you know, it's this organization is at a crossroads. They are now 2 games under 500. They are in 11th place in an Eastern Conference that is absolutely uncompromising, and that if they're going to sit and wait for a team to fall back, it's not going to happen. Yeah, teams might not, Washington may fall a little bit, Cleveland may fall a little bit. No one's falling out of this thing, you know? And yeah, they have moves they can make. They could bring in Miles Turner. I want them to bring in Miles Turner. I think Miles Turner will make a big improvement. As I said on the pod today with Jack Huntley, it cannot be understated how big a factor the fact that this team doesn't have a five it could rely on defensively at center. How big a factor that is when you talk about a Thibodeau scheme. It's massive. Miles Turner would fix a lot of that. At the same time, so you have that option. You have that road. You can go get Miles Turner. Shout out Blood of the Panda, Obi Avengers, hashtag Obi Avengers. But at the same time, as an organization, you now have a potential opportunity, potentially, where, you got this Ben Simmons stuff floating around. You got, De'Aaron Fox floating around. Like, teams are looking to make moves. And I just wonder if there was an opportunity to get something real for for Julius Randle. If you're a member of the Knicks organization, if you're a member of the Knicks front office, like, what do you think of that? How do those conversations go? What do you do? How do you react to the on-off splits as they are, and as they've? And I just want to be very clear about this. I'm not even saying Julius Randle played a bad game. Not saying that at all. He didn't play a bad game. I think he played an okay game. He was 4 for 9 from the field. He had 13 points. He obviously missed a 3 at the end. 4 or 5 from the line, 11 or 14 rebounds, 5 assists. You will take that from your starting power forward any day of the week. That production from your starting 4 is good production. I am specifically talking about the opportunity to give Obi Toppin more of a role on this team and take Julius Randle and turn him into some sort of asset that fits better with the remaining roster that you have. Because my point in discussing, Obi and Randle and the whole thing and the center situation is I don't think it's a sustainable model to play those two players together for more than 5 minutes a half, 6 minutes a half, 7 minutes a half, because eventually it's going to come back to bite you in the ass. So if that's the situation and two of your whatever best players on the team play at the same position, and one of them you may be able to get a real thing for, I just don't know how that conversation goes within your front office. And to me, what we've been seeing from Obi Toppin over the course of the year and what we saw from Obi Toppin tonight, it has to make you wonder. It has to make you wonder. It makes me wonder. This team has good pieces, and it's just something's broken right now. And the one thought I had throughout the entire first quarter, this team is broken. They are broken. And then, the subs come in and everything changes. It shouldn't have to be this way. So why is it this way? How do you change it? What do you have to do? Who do you have to move? Is it just as simple as moving one player? And these are difficult questions that we didn't have to face last year, but we have to face now. I don't envy where the front office is at. I don't envy what they're going to have to think about the next few weeks. Let's face it, teams 2 games under 500. They lost the game just now. They kind of had to have, and they lost it. And there's a real possibility they go 4 games under 500 and be 12-16 a couple days from now. That's unsettling, and I'm sure it's unsettling for people within that team. Robert McGinley with our first super chat comment. We've lost about 7 or 8 games this year because of mega runs we've given up that we couldn't dig out of. A good effort tonight, but can't keep putting ourselves in holes we can't come back from. Completely agree. And if you're a team that keeps giving up those runs, and you know Tibbs is sleeping in his fucking office trying to figure this out, and if he hasn't been able to figure it out yet, either through motivation or schematic changes or roster changes or any of those things, or rotation changes, that's indicative of a larger problem. And I completely agree with you. It's getting to the point now where this excuse and that excuse and this all that, it starts to lose merit. And you have to open your mind and expand your thinking as to, well, are there fundamental changes at play that we need to make? Which is why that I started the live stream in the way that I did. Forgotten NYC. Raptors, this is all you need to say about this game. Raptors, 12 offensive rebounds, 7 blocks, 9 steals. So I want to isolate each of those. The blocks I'm actually not worried that much about. I think the blocks are RJ got a lot of those shots blocked. Randall has always got his shot blocked. Those are issues, don't get me wrong. The offensive rebounds is the necessity of playing without a center, which speaks to everything that I talked about already. And the steals, that's the fact that you're playing large stretches of games without a real point guard. And Derrick Rose did not have his best night. Alec Burks is not a point guard. Emmanuel Quickley is a second-year player who may someday become a point guard. Not a point guard right now. Full-time, not a point guard right now. So there's your steals. There's your offensive rebounds. And then if you want to get concerned about the blocks and RJ's drives and Julius's drives and whatnot, all fair game. Again, there were issues, real issues. If the implication there is that they didn't play with effort tonight, the first quarter, again, this starting unit, my God. But then they came out in the second half and they played with effort to start, and I thought, whatever. So I don't even know what to do with that. But there was effort issues to start the game. Pastor Claudio's I'll be Hive. Tibbs closing with Evan over IQ Obi. I spoke about the Obi part of it, the Quickly part of it. Let me just pull up Quickly stats for tonight. So Quickly tonight was 1 of 5 from deep, 2 of 7 from overall. 48 tonight, 3 of 7 from deep, 3 of 8 overall. So essentially every shot he took was from deep. He made 3 out of 7. It's fair. It's fair. I did not think Quickly had his best game. And then the Obi thing, as I said already, if you want to quibble with that, that's fine. Robert Cross, thanks for playback. Thanks for coming to playback, Robert. I enjoyed that irrespective of the result. I enjoy doing it, actually. I look forward to doing more of those moving on up. Hashtag 33 Patreon. We appreciate you. Thank you so much for that. And hashtag 53 wins. Let's see. So, Robert, we're a live update. We are 12-14. So they cannot win 53 games if they lose more than 29 games, if my math is correct, right? We are almost halfway there, Robert. We're almost halfway there. I love you for the hashtag, though. Aussie Knicks fan. Shout out to our man, Obi. Career high in points. Loved him tonight. Also, shout out to my friend, Weeze, who flew interstate to watch the game with me. How you doing, Weeze? Shout out to Weeze. We love you, Weeze. 17 more games, Andrew Claudio is telling me. 17, not 19. Sorry, my math is off. Thank you, Andrew. I I've drank about a bottle of wine tonight, so apologies for that. Ryan Huang, what's going on, Ryan? It's good to see you. Finishing my Turner rant from the Zoom. If we keep playing at this level, I wonder whether we're still a top free agent destination. Well, again, speaking to the choir, it's what I wrote about in today's newsletter. Do we take that for granted? Turner trade could help rebuild the intensity. I think that's a massive part of it, and I think you make a fantastic point. Look, everything that we got excited about last year, as fans, we didn't care about what was going to come down the line. But if we're talking about big picture organizational, getting us to contention type of conversations, that all comes down to how the best players in the league see the Knicks. And if the best players in the league see the Knicks as a team that is, below 500 team who can't get their shit together, well, that's a fucking problem. And if Miles Turner can help fix that, which I think he can, then, do you relent and you give up the whatever pick it's going to take in addition to the Charlotte pick or the Dallas pick or Quentin Grimes or whatever the hell, it's a real conversation you have to have in your front office. And again, it's one of those things where it's like, well, you're a team that's not a contender and you're not a Miles Turner away from being a contender, so you shouldn't make this deal, black and white type of thing. It's different with New York. It's different with this city. It's different with this market. It's different with what they built last year and what they're on the verge of losing. They have to maintain that aura as someplace a real guy is going to want to come and play. I think it's a great point, Ryan. This from Pastor Claudio Zobitaev. Trade Randall like Golden State Warriors did Monta Ellis. Man, so good. I'm not going to say it. So somebody I was having a conversation with today, I won't say where they're employed, brought that comp up. It's not a bad comp. I'll just say that. Monta Ellis, super talented player. I think Julius Randle's better than Monta Ellis ever was. I just want to be very clear about that. Not a bad comp. I don't want to imply that Obi Toppin is Steph Curry because he's not. But it's not a bad comp. It's not a bad comp. Steven Cordero, Kemba should be back in the rotation. In retrospect, his future plus minus was partially attributable to poor playing starters he played with. I think it's a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. You want to tell me Kemba should be back with the starters? I think that's fair. He gives you things that they're not getting with the starters right now. Not on defense, but again, I never thought Kemba's defense was the bigger issue. I thought something about the offense, but again, how'd the offense come out tonight? But how do you put that genie back in the bottle? I guess I don't know. Again, not an unfair comment, Steven. Drew, I got Drew's already. Jaden Evans, Dubs start Dre and Looney. It's not the offense. The Dubs also have Steph Curry and Jordan Poole, who's pretty good. They could do some things. I don't exactly know what that comment is supposed to mean exactly. If the implication is that you could start substandard players on defense or on offense and still, win games. The Knicks don't have any players who are like the best player in the sport on defense, which Draymond is, or the best player in the sport, which on offense, which Steph is. So I don't know that I love that comp. If the argument is like you shouldn't be looking at it in black and white in terms of making your decisions, that's fair. Mangu Man, Tibbs had no choice. Also, Mitch lacks fundamentals. Mitch, again, I'm just It's 3.5 years now. Just wait till Mitch gets going. Just wait until Mitch really gets the consistency. Just wait until Mitch gets over this or that. Like maybe it'll happen. Sure, it probably will happen at some point in his career. But if you're the Knicks, you can sit around wait. You're sitting around waiting for it. It's year 4. I'm not saying sell him off, but I don't know. Would he be part of a trade? I tend to think he would be the backup if they traded for Miles Turner, but whatever. Word. I am NGL, though. I am NGL. I don't know what that means. Though Raptors defense is annoying, they trap you in every situation. Yes, they do. Good defense tonight. Brian Benjamin. I've been on the Obi bandwagon, but the Raptors are a small ball team, so maybe this game might be a bit of an outlier. But you can't take Obi out for Burks. Yeah. Oh, I'm not gonna lie. There you go. Thank you. Yeah. Again, that's fair. I don't think what Obi did tonight is an outlier. Because this isn't about one game for Obi for me. It's the whole season, and it's about giving him a chance. I'm not going to do this every game. We did tonight, and he's done in other games when given the time. Look at Obi Toppin's per 36 minutes. That's all I have to say. Look at Obi Toppin's per 36 minutes. Dom Cappuccini, what's going on, Dom? It's good to see you. Is Noel relegated to center Alfred? With physically the way he is right now? Yeah, great comp. He doesn't look like he'll ever get healthy this year. Something's up. I mean, I don't know. He's suing his former agent and the Players Association. Maybe he's distracted. Maybe that combined with the fact that he's not healthy. I don't know, but he's not. He doesn't look playable right now. It doesn't look playable. What did he play tonight? I'm gonna guess. Play 14 minutes, 13 minutes. It's 13 more than he should have played. Cassius Clay, a red-hot Obi with a tied team high and brought this team back in the game and doesn't get a shot to close the game. Clueless coaching. Well, I'm never going to say Tibbs is clueless. I think he had a reason for the decision. It was obviously a decision that did not work out. I get it. Listen, I'll pick my battles. I'm not anybody who's like Tibbs should have left Obi in at the end of the game. I'm not going to argue with you there. But again, it's the last 3, 4, 5 minutes of an NBA game. It's when defenses bear down, and Obi's still at the point where he is opportunistic on offense, but he is so frantic. But at the same time, like you looked at the shots that he took there down the stretch, and it's corner threes, and it was essentially a decision by Tibbs that I would rather have somebody else take those threes or be able to, move with whatever the situation is. It's frustrating. I would love to see him out there to close the game too. Roger Fortune, the defensive effort between last year and this year is infuriating. We should note that the team gave up 90 points tonight. They gave up 31 points in the first quarter, and then they gave up 19, 19, and 21. I thought the defensive effort was really good over the last 3 quarters. The defensive effort in the first quarter was not where you want it. To go down 15 every game, I'm loving Obi's growth, but dear Lord, Fournier is a worse JR. Yeah, Fournier has been frustrating. I will push back on the defensive effort. Look, I'm as frustrated as anyone at the defensive effort over the first quarter. It was not good. They were a step slow. I actually thought the offense was a little worse than the defense, but they played well enough on defense over the last 3 quarters to win the game. Doesn't excuse the first. Doesn't mean there aren't issues, but you. Here's the thing: it's tough to get on a defense of a team that gave up 90 points in the NBA today. That's all. Anthony Sixto. Randall tried to play a more passive role tonight. He did. then selectively be the one leads to so many rhythm problems. That's thank you, Anthony. In a nutshell, that's been the Knicks' issue on offense this year. That's why that comment. That's why Kemba Walker's on the bench. It's not because of his defense. I mean, it may be because of his defense, but like they would have kept him in there if they had been able to figure out that issue. They would have swallowed the defensive issues if they had been able to figure out that issue. We saw versus the Bulls, the Nets, better or worse. You need to embrace Randall as a one until a real number one arrives. And again, that is the catch-22 of this team right now. They're in a tough place. They're in a tough place, which is why I brought up at the start of the show the notion of, do you start to think about some things? It's a gnat flying around. Jason M. Knicks just went 1-3 in a stretch of 4 very winnable games. Agreed. They now sit in 12th place. They do sit in 12th place. That's right. Because they lost to the Raptors twice. How about them apples? With tough games ahead, that's a wrap. The season is over. The season's not over. That's wrong. That's incorrect. That is an incorrect statement. They may very well not make the playoffs or the play-in this season, but to say the season is over because you're in a tie record-wise for 11th place in an East where nobody's really great other than the top teams. Season's not over, but they're not in a great place right now. If you want to say I think they should tank because of where they're at right now, that's a different conversation. Brain, XTC. This is going to take time. There's no quick fix. Yeah, no disagreement with that. There is no quick fix to this. 100%. Hush Zoo. Andrew, if I missed any super chats, let me know. Obi is literally a 3-point shot away from being a top tier. I don't know what you mean by top tier. At this point, can we start Rose and have Kemba come off the bench? I mean, I think starting Rose is an issue, but this team scored 87 points tonight. If you're a team where the only issue is the starting five, you're not putting up 87 points against a team that has not been great defensively this year. They have no rim protection to speak of. Their defensive numbers this year are average to bad. The Knicks' issues on offense go deeper than who's starting at point guard. I agree with you that that's a big issue, but I'll go back to a theme that I've been saying over the last few weeks, which is that the only way this team is going to win games again consistently is if they find their defensive identity, and that means not having the first quarter that they just had. So yeah. CT Pittman. In all seriousness, trades start next week. If you're the GM, what do you do about this team? I get Turner. I get Miles Turner. I give up the Charlotte pick. I give up whether it's a heavily protected Knicks pick, the Dallas pick, one of those two things. I give up, big air quotes, energy here, 2 firsts for Miles Turner when it's not really 2 firsts. And I'm not giving up an unprotected first. I'm not giving up Emmanuel Quickly. I am not giving up Obi Toppin. And I'm not giving up RJ Barrett. Short of that, go get me Miles Turner. I don't think there's another trade on the board. Just to rehash what I said at the beginning, I'm taking calls on, if there are calls to be had, I'm taking calls on Julius Randle. Just to see, what 3-team or 4-team deals can I get involved in that involve Ben Simmons? I'm curious. That's all. Keith Alston, how much do you think it would cost to get Turner and LeVert or Ben Simmons in it? Well, LeVert and Ben Simmons are a bit different in a Knicks uniform, and what changes would you make? Um, something I've wondered is whether the Sixers would have any interest in Randall. Again, that tweet came out today about them getting a top 25 player. I don't know how many of those guys are out there. And I wonder who that tweet was referring to. I just said what I thought it would take to get Turner. I think for Simmons, it would be Randall plus. I don't know Randall plus what, but I think it will be Randall plus. Yeah, that's what I'll say. In terms of what changes I'd make, I mean, I that's a real complicated. We could talk for an hour about potential directions they could go with the roster, but I do think right now this roster does not work, and they need to make changes. And I think Turner would be a good start and see where things are with Turner. Anthony Sixto, maybe I'm a basketball dino. With Mitch's height, why doesn't he keep the ball high in the paint? Lowers the ball, giving every defender a shot at it, because Mitch is not a highly skilled player in some respects. He's an immensely talented player. He's a physically gifted player. But in terms of the little things, it's an issue. I agree with you. It's a good comment. Greg Moran, I want to be free of this pain. Kylo Ren would have left Obi in to finish it. A lot of Star Wars references. I love it though. Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope. As it were. Yeah. Can't argue with that. Stevens Guillaume, we just had to have the Bucks and the Warriors next on our schedule. You know what? I agree with you, by the way. I'm lamenting. This team had an opportunity to start 12-4, 11-5, at worst 10-6. They didn't do that. They lost 2 games to the Magic. They lost several other games they could have won. This team is what it is. It's a mediocre team at best, as currently constructed. And they fucked with what worked last year, in addition to the issues with the center position, health-wise. And those things combine to form a team that is, it's a mediocre team at best. So now, what are you gonna do? You're gonna blow it up? You're gonna try to fix it. Jeremy E. Obi is a special talent and is an NBA starter right now. I agree with that. He is an NBA starter right now. Also, I want to see Deuce get some rotation minutes since Kemba's out of the rotation. Yeah, I mean, I'm intrigued by Deuce. The idea of Deuce is probably better than the actualized version of Deuce. That said, where they're at right now and how they're starting off these games, there is no idea that is too crazy, including giving Deuce McBride time. That's fair. Blood of the Panda. I told you, he's Paul George behind Danny Granger. He is inevitable. Still my favorite line from any movie of the last 10 years. Maybe Obi is inevitable. He's certainly fun to watch. Hashtag Obi Avengers. Hashtag free Obi. James J. Randall's 3 turnovers in a row late in the first, leading to 5 Raptor points right after the Knicks run, almost made me sick. Trade. Shout out from Ireland, KFS. Shout out to you. Thanks for joining in from Ireland. Yeah, it's It's why I started off the live stream with the rant that I did because but again, even as I say that's not even fair because again, they're a team right now they don't have a point guard starting with them. It's just we're seeing what this team is with Randall doing everything he's doing. Because Randall did stuff like this last year, but they had the defense to back it up. They don't have the defense to back it up right now. That's a problem. Sean Ford, you missed my super chat, I think. Basically, just said I'm ready to trade Randall. LOL. Yeah, I don't know how many teams in the league are dying to acquire Julius Randle. And I'm sure I'll have something on this in a newsletter or a podcast soon, but that's a tough question. Dom Cappuccini back for more. Do you think splitting the next two is a must in spite of the elite competition as a means to keep the season from running away? If they lose 7 out of 8, when they get to 4 games under 500, I won't say the season will have slipped away at that point, but it's right there. It's right there. Hush Zoo. DJ Murray, Thad Young, Randall, pick. You take that. Yes. And the Spurs would be like, thanks for calling. Ivan Omar. Thanks for the contribution, Ivan. Starters go down by double digits. The second unit comes and erases it. And Tibbs is the same rotation again and again. Einstein would be proud. We're the epitome of insanity. Greetings from Malaysia. Greetings to you. Thank you for joining in from Malaysia. I mean, I guess, the only pushback I'll have on that is if you look at the starters right now. So you can't bench Julius Randle. Tibbs obviously wants to start with a center. Burks, RJ, are you gonna bench RJ? Probably not. He was 5 for 16 tonight for 19 points, by the way. I think Burks had a terrible game tonight. Burks has been over the last, on the season, he's been one of the best offensive wings in the league. And since the first 6 or 7 games, he's really been one of the best offensive wings in the league. So the issue isn't there. So essentially, we're talking about Fournier, right? And Fournier again tonight, 3 of 7 from deep, 3 of 8 overall. I agree. I think Fournier looking to send Fournier to the bench is a big to do. It's a big to do. It's a big consideration. Man. Obi Toppin praising Tom Thibodeau whenever he's asked about the minutes. This is from Fred Katz. Says he doesn't feel bad exiting games when it's close. Coach Tibbs is a great coach. He's been doing this for a very long time. He knows what he's doing. He's a lot more experienced and knows a lot more. Good of you to say. I agree, obviously, but Jason M with a comment. Dame and Beal are both putting pressure on their teams to make moves. We can trade Randall to one of them for draft picks. Yeah. So I don't think Washington would make the deal. Maybe I don't see them doing that. Portland is interesting to me, but the thing that's interesting about Portland is Dame has gone public about I want to play with Ben Simmons. So if they go get Julius Randle, does that appease Dame? How important is it to Portland to appease Dame? I don't know the answers to these questions. I agree with your line of thinking in general. Again, just to keep the antennas up for, is there someone willing to overpay for Julius Randle? The trade I keep going back to, and again, I can't stop thinking about it. That ever since me and Jeremy talked about it a few weeks ago, is to Sacramento for Harrison Barnes and a pick or something. You know, um, that's interesting to me. Bricks Nation, find a 3-team trade to take KP and ship Randall to Dallas. They seem to like our players anyway. Fuck KP. No offense. I begrudgingly put KP in today's Knicks Film School newsletter, counting down the top 75 players in Knicks history. I had to put him in there. I wish I did. And again, I'm catching up on the super chat. If I've missed anybody, let Andrew know, please. Forgotten NYC. Is Tibbs gone if they don't make the play in? I say no. I say no too. It wouldn't. I say no. Not after last year, but I think he'd be on shakier ground. Hold on, catching up in super chat. Lunas and Marat. Jules chose to sign instead of waiting for a 4-year max. If he didn't, how do you think this summer would go, and what would free up front office think? Also, God, the things I would do for Fox. I'm not going to say publicly what I would do for Fox. I agree. I would like to bring De'Aaron Fox to this team. This is really interesting. There's a comment about what would the front office do if Julius was a free agent this summer. I don't know how to answer that question right now because we're 26 games in. It's so complicated to talk about him. He's worth the money they're paying him. It's the thing with Obi, and they have something with Obi that can't be fully unleashed as long as Julius is here. That's the complicating factor. It's for me, it's much less about like Julius has been terrible, because I actually don't think Julius has been terrible. I think Julius is ill-conceived as a leader of a team because of how hot and cold he runs and how much he lets his offense affect his defense. And the fact that he's blocking essentially Obi Toppin from getting in getting time. It's such a tough conversation. John Kim, I would love to see Deuce Grimes, RJ Obi, Mitch as the starting 5. Can't be worse than what we have been getting. This lineup would actually play defense minus Obi. Obi's been fine on defense. Yeah, you're not going to get the summer league team. I will say though, for the second game in a row, the Rose, Quickly, RJ, or Burks, Obi, Mitch, fivesome. That's a good fivesome. I like that. Sean Ford, can we trade Randall this year with his extension? Yes, they can trade him after February. I want to say February 8th. It's in February. I'll look it up right now. I believe it's February 8th. Sure enough, because I searched this so much, Julius Randle, as soon as I start typing in the name Julius Randle contract comes up. No, Spotrac doesn't say when he can be traded by. I think no, it does. Sorry, February 3rd. February 3rd. I was off by 5 days. My apologies. Duran visual variant. With all the random picks we have, when is that double draft, the high school and the college players, supposed to happen? Wondering if that could increase their trade value. there's been really no reporting on that over the last several months. The last any of us heard was 2023. I have suspicions as to whether it would actually happen in 2023 at this point. It seems like that's going to be a CBA issue moving forward. We don't know the answer to that question. Um, and then our last super chat for right now. Imad Khalil, start. Randall, Obi, RJ, Quick, and Rose develop. I mean, again, I kind of advocated for that starting five in the newsletter earlier this week. It's their best 5-man lineup right now. Give or take an Alec Burks. Yeah, not a bad comment. D Jones, front office was ready to move on from Julius when they drafted Obi. You're damn right about that. Evan was ready to trade up for Obi. Even was ready to trade up for Obi. Should have just traded for LaMelo. LOL. Yeah, I'm look. Here's where I'll leave off. Tonight was a frustrating game. They lost on the road by 3 points to a team that now has the same record as them. This is life in the Eastern Conference in 2021. You know, it's a lot of teams that are pretty good, and we're all frustrated. I'm frustrated, but there are things that this team. There are things to be encouraged about with the players on this team. They have some fundamental issues to sort out moving forward, and I'll be very curious to see what they do with certain decisions. But I have hope. We got 2 more super chats here. Your boy Benz. If you trade Randall, who creates for themselves and who makes the tough shots? I'm not a playmaker Julius Randall fan. He honestly needs to shoot more. I mean, look, you're preaching to the choir there. I've been advocating for that all year long. I agree. Nobody else creates attention. I just wonder, are we at the point where the diminishing returns on the Randall-centric offense are such that you look to see if the grass is greener on the other side, acknowledging the fact that you will not have anybody who could create for you in a pinch and have a real high-level shot maker. And the only thing I will say in pushback to things that I've said on this live stream over recent weeks is you look at teams like the Memphis Grizzlies and teams like the Houston Rockets and teams every year who go on runs and have good seasons and are able to do things without that guy, because obviously Memphis has been without John Morant. Emmanuel quickly can create at the end of a shot clock. Derrick Rose can create at the end of a shot clock. Obi Toppin can create at the end of a shot clock. Alec Burks can create at the end of a shot clock. All of these guys can do those things. They are not, none of them are at the same level, with the exception of Rose, who can't play a lot of minutes. None of them are on the level as Julius Randle in terms of the attention that he draws. And so you need to reconcile that and figure out if the loss there, the drop off there is going to be made up for the fact that the cohesion as a whole. And I don't know the answer to that question. And I think there is validity to the point that you're making. But I just wonder, at what point does it get to where the team has to at least ask themselves those questions? That's all. John Kim, how much pressure do you think the Knicks front office has to figure this shit out, since the Rangers figured it out and turned it around quickly after firing last year's front office? I don't think that's anything to do with it. Good thought though. Okay. Thanks everybody for tuning in. I'm bummed about this loss, but I'm encouraged by Obi Toppin. I don't know where this season is going. for the first time, I can sit here and say, I don't know where the season's going. Last super chat, your boy Benz. You trust Tibbs to come up with the offense like that? He's Tibbs, not D'Antoni. I still trust Tibbs. I'll go down with that ship. I trust Tibbs. Tibbs is a good basketball coach. He doesn't have a lot of answers right now on the roster. We all think we know better. We don't. We'll see if they can figure it out. All right. See everybody in a couple days. Peace out.